There are a few names which come to mind when you think of recent weather history in Queensland. Names like Oswald and Yasi and Larry. They're, of course, all cyclones, and they left big marks on farms, homes and the environment. Well, it was Cyclone Larry that paid North Queensland a visit in 2006, which sounds quite a long time ago now. Crossed the coast close to Innisfail on the 20th of March that year with winds up to 240 kilometres an hour. Well, Larry has been the subject of close study by Peter Otto, who has been one of our regular senior forecasters from the Bureau of Meteorology on the Country Hour. Good afternoon, Peter Otto.
Good day, Nerily. Hi.
Why, first of all, did you look at Cyclone Larry out of all of them so closely?
Well, I was forecasting for Cyclone Larry and also did a pretty comprehensive post-event inspection of the area afterwards, and got to know and like the people, and was challenged by one of the people I met to try and help him understand the experiences he had to try and deal with it. And also there were some important things I think we needed to learn about Larry in terms of its impact, its strength and its structure, so that we can better plan for the future for other cyclones and also help improve our understanding of just the climate trends.
OK, so the damage bill for infrastructure and crops, I think, was around $500 million. It was very significant, but I understand Larry was actually quite a small cyclone in terms of its size, its nature.
Yes, quite right. It was it's quite a small storm. It's probably about 200 kilometres across, maybe a bit wider.
Bit different to Yasi.
Yes, that's right. Yasi was a bigger event, that's for sure. And we do get these smaller events around Australia, but nonetheless, it was still one of the strongest events, the strongest in that area. For about 3 generations until Yasi came along. So very, very significant event, Larry. And, it had quite a complicated structure. And so we studied that over the last few years and really tried to work out exactly its nature.
What was complicated about it?
Well, Larry was affected by waves in the atmosphere just around its eye wall. So a lot of people think of a cyclone as a circular thing with an eye in the centre. Well, it certainly had that. But it had these variations around the eye wall that produced local areas that were much more intense in terms of winds and also heavy rainfall. So it had quite a complicated structure. It kind of had the speed wobbles, if you like a bicycle wheel, a bad bicycle wheel. It was moving around, but it was affected by these waves going around it that really did disturb the thing.
And that's not something that you see often with cyclones?
Well, it's something we're becoming more aware of. Particularly Americans in the last 10, 20 years have done a lot of research on this, and computer models can actually simulate these things now. So we are getting a better appreciation of this sort of wave behaviour or these speed wobbles within a cyclone. So we're learning more about them and trying to help work out how we can prepare the community for them. So they can be quite intense, but also they make it hard for us to measure the exact strongest winds in the cyclone because you just may not catch them.
Or you may get the stronger bit rather than the weaker bit. So is that the real lesson and what it tells us for the future and for people who live along that cyclone-prone part of the Queensland coast? Yeah,
look, it's important to understand how unsure we are as well about how strong it was. And that's what we're learning, really. That's a key finding of what we've come up with is just there is uncertainty about its past strength. And it's important to understand that uncertainty so we can work out in the future if we'll be comparing future events to Larry, and we need to understand how clear that comparison can be. We also need to understand just how strong it was or how uncertain we are about that, because it affects coastal planning. It affects how many nails we put in the ceiling. It affects where we put the buildings next to the coast. And so these sort of things are important to get a handle of, at least the uncertainty, but certainly trying to work out the strength of the thing going forward.
That's certainly news to me that cyclones are not round, they can be oblong.
Yeah, they can be. And in fact, this storm had an outer eye wall as well, so it had 2 eye walls. So it produced sea level rises in 2 different places as well. So that's important to understand as well. And we've done a lot of work on trying to understand that sea level rise too.
Peter Otto from the Bureau of Meteorology, whose work has been published by the United Nations-backed World Meteorological Organisation. Thanks for joining me in the Country Hour studio today.
It was a pleasure, Neri.